Picture this: a calm, sun-drenched morning in the South Pacific. October 1955. A small, somewhat battered, 69-ton wooden vessel called the Joyita is found adrift north of Fiji. Its hull is badly listing, its decks are deserted. A ghost ship. But this isn't a centuries-old legend. This is a modern maritime mystery, with 25 souls vanished into thin air. Where did they go? And why was the Joyita, when found, soaked with salt water, and yet still perfectly seaworthy? I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is the Unexplained Archive. The Joyita's story begins with a simple, scheduled trip. On October 3, 1955, it left Samoa's Apia harbor bound for the Tokelau Islands, about 270 miles away. The voyage should have taken 2, maybe 3 days. On board were 25 people, 16 crew and 9 passengers, including a government official, a doctor, and a copper trader. The ship was old, but considered reliable. It was captained by a man named Thomas Dusty Miller, a respected mariner with wartime experience. They sailed into fine weather. And then nothing. No distress call. No signal. Just silence. A massive air and sea search was launched, covering over 100,000 square miles. Nothing. For 5 weeks, the Joyita and its passengers were simply gone. Then, a merchant ship spotted it, over 600 miles west of its intended course. It was partially submerged, but stubbornly afloat due to its cork-lined hull. When investigators finally boarded, the scene was chillingly strange. The ship's logbook, navigational equipment, and all personal papers were missing. The ship's clock had stopped at 10:25. But the most baffling clues were these. The radio was found tuned to the international distress frequency, but a later examination showed its wiring had been tampered with, jury-rigged to a car battery found on deck. And the engines were still switched to the on position, though they'd failed due to a clogged fuel line. So what happened in those waters? The official inquiry was inconclusive, calling it an act of God, but that satisfies no one. The theories are where the mystery deepens. The first is mutiny. Tensions among the crew, a struggle, a violent overthrow. But if so, where did everyone go? There were no life rafts, and the single lifeboat was missing, but it was later found damaged and unusable, still tied to the ship. 25 people don't just jump into the shark-infested Pacific. Then there's the piracy theory. The Joyita was carrying a valuable cargo of timber, medical supplies, and empty oil drums. But piracy is noisy, messy. It leaves evidence. And why scuttle a ship that's still perfectly floatable? The most haunting theory involves the Japanese. Some speculated the ship was seized by a Japanese fishing vessel or even a leftover military holdout from World War II, a decade after the war's end. It's a stretch, but it speaks to the sheer desperation for an answer. For me, the most compelling explanation is a cascade of mundane tragedies. Imagine a small leak, a faulty pump. Water slowly enters the hull. The list increases, causing that fuel line to clog, killing the engines. The radio, powered by the main engines, fails. Captain Miller, resourceful, tries to rig the radio to that car battery, explaining the tampering. He sends the passengers and most of the crew onto the unstable, tethered lifeboat for safety while they try to fix the issue, believing the Joyita itself might sink. Then, a sudden swell snaps the lifeboat free, or it capsizes, sweeping everyone away. The captain and a few others are left on the now drifting, silent Joyita. Eventually, they too are lost to the sea. The Joyita, however, thanks to its cork, simply refuses to die, becoming their lonely, waterlogged tombstone. It's a story that has always stayed with me, not just as a mystery, but as a lesson in how ordinary things, compounded, can create an indelible legend. The Joyita wasn't a grand ocean liner. It was a workhorse. Its passengers weren't famous. They were people going about their lives. And that's what makes its empty decks so profoundly haunting. It reminds us that the most unsettling mysteries are often the ones that could, under just the wrong alignment of simple, broken things, happen to anyone. For the Unexplained Archive, I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. This is a production of Light Knot Studios. Find more threads to pull at lightknotstudios.com.